Welcome to Idaho News 6. I'm your neighborhood reporter, Allie Tripke, and we begin tonight with an update to the flooding in Malheur County, Oregon. A story we've been following closely all day for you, starting with live updates in our 11 a.m. newscast. And at 5 p.m., neighborhood reporter Riley Shoemaker showed us some of what residents are dealing with in Eastern Oregon. And she rejoins us now live from our crew in Ontario to kick off team coverage at 6. Hey, Riley.
Hey, Allie. Yep, this is a rapidly changing situation here in Ontario. I just want to tell you, if you were watching the 5 or the 5:30, it was not remotely as watery on this road. We were actually up that road, standing over there, and we've made our way over here because that area was starting to get completely socked in with water. Since we've been standing here alone, look at my feet, they're already underwater. And these road signs, you can see the cones are almost completely submerged as well. Earlier we had some guys out here on a boat. I would not recommend that. This current is moving rapidly as you get closer and closer to the river, and there's huge pieces of debris making their way down the current as well. And I've been speaking to residents all afternoon about how they're protecting their homes and their property from this flooding.
That's life living on the farm.
Alan Montgomery grew up on this farm. In addition to goats, cattle, paintball gunfights, and corn mazes, he says flooding is just a part of life, living along the banks of the Malheur River. But he's only seen conditions get this serious about once a decade.
This is one of the higher floods, and we're prepared most of the time for the smaller ones. The bigger ones, you think you have everything, and then you realize, oh, wait a minute, we forgot about this or that or whatever.
From broken fences to submerged pastures, Montgomery says preparation only goes so far.
I've had to rebuild fences many times because the water just lays them over.
And Montgomery isn't the only one experiencing flooding. Now we're seeing this sort of flooding all throughout Malheur County. We're standing here on the intersection of Malheur Drive and 36th Street. And I was speaking with a couple on the corner who tell me that this is some of the worst flooding that they have seen in the decade since they've lived here. And they were telling me that this field right across the street here that they own gets completely flooded, and that water comes all the way through, all the way to where these sheep are in this field. We've been tracking this situation in Malheur County throughout the day Tuesday. We were there along Highway 20 in Vail when floodwaters prompted a road closure, leaving semi-trucks stranded and homeowners scrambling to protect their property. Take a look at this drone footage we captured just outside of Vail, floodwaters surrounding homes. These residents turning to bales of hay in an effort to keep the water out.
Thank heavens, this year they emptied some of the reservoirs early, and so right now the reservoirs are not dumping anything. They're collecting everything that's coming down.
But Montgomery has seen worse. He remembers one year when ice the size of cars stacked up across his childhood lawn.
It took almost till June for all that ice to melt. It was so big.
And I just want to reiterate how quickly this is changing. Just since I've been standing here, this water continues to come in. We continue to have to make our way away from this roadway. My feet are completely submerged in water. And I just want to hand it over to Scott, our chief meteorologist, with more information on what exactly is happening and what we can expect throughout the rest of the evening. Scott, what are we looking at in terms of this changing situation throughout the night?
Yeah, Riley, I've been watching the gauge, and it is just slowly rising, about 6 inches of rise there in the last, say, hour or so. And that 6 inches of a vertical rise can go a long way, and you're noticing that as you're there. And so the river's still rising, and we can see what's going to happen in Ontario by looking at what's been happening in Vail. There's been a crest, but it's kind of plateauing. It's coming down ever so slowly, if at all, and that means the same thing will occur in Ontario. We're likely to see a crest in the next several hours, maybe later this evening, and it's going to hang there for a while. And so this flooding here is going to last for at least a little while. Let's take a look at the gauges here. As we look at the map here, notice this purple right here. That's the Vail gauge showing that the Malheur River is in flood stage, is in major flood stage here. As we see it here, Riley, is in Ontario right now. The water, that crest is flowing to the east there, and it's going to be a while before that comes down. Here we are at back to Vail, and with major flooding throughout the night here, and then it will start to come down slowly over the next 18 hours or so. And then we'll see that that change come in. I'll keep you updated on that. In the meantime, sunshine in Boise. We've had a gusty wind. It's been chilly, but warmer temperatures are on the way. See these temperatures in the 50s right now? That's going to change tomorrow. High temperatures are going to go into the low 50s, but the wind is going to slacken. And I'll tell you, Isaiah Sharp, when the wind settles down, it feels so much nicer outside. How's the traffic looking? Is it getting any better? I thought I saw some red.
Unfortunately not. No, things are starting to intensify just a little bit more. I wish as though the conditions were getting better out there. There aren't any accidents. We've been following 511 Idaho, which is kind of a government agency following that. But you can see this yellow straight across as soon as you exit the Flying Y. So conditions not getting any better. Still 25 minutes from downtown Boise to Meridian and across the Treasure Valley region. Still not looking great. Lots of buildup just here before you enter Nampa. So prepare for that if you're making your way westbound. Here's a quick look at some of your traffic cameras as well. Be safe out there.
King County is growing and first responders are receiving more calls than ever before. I'm your Caldwell neighborhood reporter Leslie Solis, and that's where agency collaboration comes in. As crews here in Caldwell are eyeing opportunities for this station and notice and how equipping crews with resources could help improve response times.
75 years of building to this point, knowing that growth is not going to stop.
The Caldwell Fire Department and the Rural Fire District have been collaborating for decades. And as population continues to rise in King County, they're working together to tackle the rising demand in services.
1,000 calls a year in the rural area, 15 to 20 minutes per response. That's just an unacceptable benchmark.
Caldwell Deputy Chief Brian Daniels tells me after failing to recruit a wildland fire chief, they started considering using that money to hire 6 new crew members dedicated to serving the rural district out of this station and notice, currently sitting empty.
And we said, yeah, it makes perfect sense to us.
It's very important that we have this capability.
I spoke with the Rural District Administrative Chief Mark Wendelstor, who tells me every second matters when responding to emergencies.
When people call 911, they're calling because it's usually their worst day. So this yellow, all these red dots are calls from the month of January.
An added side effect of a growing community is more car accidents, more medical emergencies, and ultimately more calls to 911. The rural district currently pays the Caldwell Fire Department $2.2 million a year to answer those calls.
If we can really tell the public that we're spending your dollars wisely and we're throwing everything we can at it, I think it's a win-win for everybody.
I'm told it would cost Caldwell around $700,000 a year to keep the notice station staffed. Once the proposal is approved, the firehouse will secure a squad vehicle and 2 first responders on site 24/7.
Now with the unit being out here, you'll be looking at a 3 to 5 minute response time.
With 150 calls going unanswered last year due to the lack of resources, Chief Daniels says the change will be a relief for his crews, keeping Caldwell firefighters closer to town.
The more that we can provide service faster, more efficient, the better off for everybody.
The goal is to staff this notice station by April with long-term hopes of expanding the station to include its own engine. I'm our Caldwell neighborhood reporter Leslie Solis for Idaho News 6.
In Meridian, local ag retailers are expecting a busy chicken season this spring as egg prices remain high.
And I'm Chief Meteorologist Scott Roval looking at a live view again of the Malheur River in Ontario. Very close to Ontario here. The road is closed. This water continues to rise slowly as it creeps on in. The crest has not occurred yet. And once it crests, it's going to hang here. It's been here before. It was here in 2023. We had a 15-foot crest. It's pretty close to it. Fire trucks here blocking the roadway, keeping people from going over the bridge. I'm going to keep you updated, give you the latest shot on the gauge and how this is doing. Plus, our forecast. We've got some changes coming through the week. I think changes you're going to like. Coming up next.
As the avian flu persists and egg prices remain high in some grocery stores, so does the interest in having backyard chickens. I'm your Meridian neighborhood reporter, Ellie Tripke, with more from local ag retailer The Feed Mill in Meridian as they prepare for what they say will be a very busy chick season this spring. Josh Zamzo and his family have been providing feed, supplies, and education on all things agriculture for generations. With the recent spike in avian flu causing egg prices to rise, Zamzo's is expecting a scramble for chicks this spring.
Mostly what people are saying is, when will the chicks be here? Can I pre-order? What kinds will you have? Like, you know, and they're so excited. Like, people are leaning in.
Egg prices hitting a national record high last month of nearly $5 a dozen. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the spike in egg prices this winter is the biggest since the nation's last bird flu outbreak in 2015.
We're getting